All right, let's begin the class. My tablet is having some issues, but in any case, I want us to begin doing the breathing exercises that we started on the second day of class. So, if I don't fall in front of all of you guys and make an embarrassment out of myself, we could do this properly. Well, I want you guys to have your phones be put away, laptops put away, close your eyes. I'm going to direct you with how to breathe. If I mess up, just continue on the cycle business as usual until I say stop. Again, with box breathing, we're going to be breathing in for a certain number of times, a certain number of counts. We're going to hold it for a certain count. Exhale, hold it. Ready? All right. How you guys all doing today? Doing all right? Doing good? We're going to have actually a pretty fun lecture today. It's going to be kind of emotional because we're going to be talking about more of the software side of urban issues. But let me actually open this up. In your own words, can I get a volunteer to tell me what urban issues is from their perspective? Victor, what do you think?
I would say that they are in the direction that we're expanding. What is it that our society needs?
What do we need? Okay, so omni-inclusive. It's a word that we've been using that we're going to continue to use. Let me challenge you and play the devil's advocate. What might be beneficial to you might not be beneficial to me. Whether you, meaning as an individual or a group of people that has its own identity, what do you think, superficially, would be a common way that you can satisfy everyone while still catering to the singular? Incredibly tough, right? That's probably the number one issue that urban planners all have to deal with. You have people of all religions, of all backgrounds, people who get offended by the smallest things, people that get offended by nothing at all. You have people that say, hey, my way of life is the right way, and I'm damn sure of it, and your way is wrong. So how do we cater to all of that?
I think it's just minimizing impact, each other's impact on each other. That's probably the only thing. It's almost a form of compromise.
Bingo, I was waiting for that word. Thank you so much for saying that. So compromise. One could argue that compromising, or the art of compromising, is an element of a high society, a group of people who are intelligent enough to say, hey, your, your identity is not my identity, but it still matters. So even if it means a little bit of sacrifice here, a little bit of sacrifice there, everyone could be happy that way. I love that. So let's begin by starting with the quote of the day. It is difficult to understand the entire universe if you only study one planet. The universe, so that we can understand the context of that, infinity, right? We have in any direction, if let's say the observable universe is what this entire classroom is, planet Earth being one of, what, a billion, several trillion in our own galaxy, with several trillion, several tens of trillions that we're even aware of. It's important to understand everything in terms of context, the direction that we're going, and probably where we were in the past. Physicists, the only way that they can understand reality is by understanding what has happened, observing that, calculating the trajectory to our present course, and then where it can be going in the future. When you see from a bird's eye view, you have a different sense of what reality means. At the very top, I had the students each one sit facing a different part of San Diego. No cell phones, no music, no communication with people that are around you. And so when we were up there, I told each of them to study movement, to study where are clumps of houses. How are those houses designed? In any one given neighborhood, do we have observable areas where a group of children have a park right here, smack dab, so that they can all walk? Is it within walking distance so they can hang out with other children in the neighborhood and build that sense of community? It's absolutely crazy because I don't know if you remember, but we ended up talking about mini castles. You remember that part? In Richard Sennett's book, Building and Dwelling, he talks about how, whether it's in the Bay Area, whether it's in Los Angeles, places in Asia, definitely South California, you see those circular little structures over there? So those are apartment complexes I don't know how much it costs to live there. I'm assuming because we're in San Diego, it costs a lot and a half, no matter what. But in any case, the construction of these, I hate keep using the word mini castle, but it essentially is. None of us, unless we're actually paying, can enter this facility. We can't use any of their media resources. We can't use their tennis court that's there, their jacuzzi, their swimming pool. It is specific to that group of people and only that group of people who have a key card to go in, and that's that. Many tend to argue that this kind of a design is not beneficial. It's not omni-inclusive. It's saying we are different than them, only we can access and others cannot. In essence, the whole purpose of that trip is to understand that we build our environments and in turn our environments mold us. This quote, I want you guys to keep thinking of it as we're talking about all the other steps, because when we're talking about the software side of a civilization, the software side of urban planning, it's all connected to that. In reality, any animal that's below us, we have both the ability and we have the history of either exterminating them, learning how to bring them together, use them as a food source, and so on and so forth. The whole point of this is that being at the top of the food chain means that you get to decide what rules are ethical, what rules are not ethical. Since we're able to kill everything that's below us, and we tend to often do that both directly and indirectly, we set the rules to say, hey, if we want to kill, throw out a number out there, how much cattle we want to kill in order for us to consume them, or chicken, or hey, that rattlesnake, we can either kill it or we can eat it. Exotic foods. The word exotic is often put next to animals that people don't often eat. Even if they're poisonous, we'll figure out a way how to take away the poison and eat the meat and go, now that's good stuff, right? It's an amazing position to be when you're way up there at the top. You guys agree with that? Now, the other word that we can use to define whoever's at the top of this food chain is apex. Again, apex, the one who gets to dictate all the rules, gets to say who lives and who dies. One could argue that that's a big responsibility. Us human beings who are designing these urban environments, it's our responsibility to understand this and move in the best way possible. In terms of eating, my two favorite ways of talking about rules where we can and cannot eat food has to do with both kosher products and halal products. I know you guys have all heard it in some way. There's kosher hot dogs, kosher this, kosher that, halal lamb, halal beef, blah, blah. In Judaic belief, they talk about the importance of when you slaughter an animal, that it is calm, that it is not sick, that it is, in a sense, feeling it's enjoying its own best life. When it comes to actual slaughter process, now I don't know how sensitive you guys are, but if you've ever had a burger, this is part of it in some way or another. They talk about the sharpness of the blade. When you're slitting an animal's throat, if it's a dull blade and it's suffering as it's dying, all these chemicals are released from the brain and goes into the bloodstream, which goes into the muscles. We're eating the muscles, we're eating all those stress hormones. So we become the side effect of stress hormones in the body. Now, before we had the scientific method that came about thanks to the Islamic Golden Age, people would observe an animal being slaughtered in front of another group of animals, say, well, those are freaking out. Let's take it to the side and let's butcher it softly, quietly. In addition to that, making sure that the animal doesn't suffer. Once the animal passes out, then you hook it up, drain the blood, and then you do the process that you do to cut it up and make a steak. From both a taste and an ethical perspective, it's important that you guys understand what it is that you eat and the health benefits of it. Now, that same system of having an apex at the very top, we use that same logic in how we treat ourselves on a societal perspective. We have, I'm going to be a little bit careful with how I say this. We have what the people tend to refer to as the top 1%. There are the people that have been working for those companies that have been around since forever. those that we will never know their names because they don't care about fame and fortune. It's just the lifestyle that comes with having more wealth beyond belief. And it goes all the way down to the poverty line. And in a sense, as I mentioned in the previous class, to define ultra wealthy, ultra poor has to exist. It's this entire structure. It's like having a maze where you tell people when you walk in over here, hey, you, make sure you stay on the right side. You, go anywhere that you want, have fun, as long as it's on the left. And that each path dictates a different reality for a different group of people. We can see this bleed into different aspects of society. And when we were at the top of the mountain, it was probably easiest to be able to tell where low-income housing was, where it was positioned next to, where the high income was, and where it's positioned next to. But in a sense, our society, whether we like it or not, whether we apply the emotion of good or the emotion of bad, at the end of the day, we're still fighting to reach the top. Now, moving on to the level of destructive power. Daniel Schmachtenberger, in his very first video, talks about progress. And when it comes to exponential tech, and you link that to what he refers to as rivalrous competitive advantage, meaning for me to win, you have to lose. The more powerful that you are, or the higher up on that pyramid that you get, the more access you have to more damage. Now, artificial intelligence, I always tell people to never think about it as either good or bad. It's a tool, just like how a knife is a tool that a surgeon needs to have to be able to cut into your body. So it can be used for good, but is our society set up so that when we use that, when we finally reach that point, we perfect it, that we are going to be using it for good? One of my favorite books of all time, I would only recommend that you guys download it as an audible. Every page of this, when I was trying to read it, I read it maybe about 6 times and then realized I was just counting words because of how abstract the concepts were. When it comes to decision making, if you know that there's a certain risk of you trying to do something, trying to win at a game, it's important that you understand all the rules that apply to that game. It understands that you know both yourself and you know your opponent. If your opponent's going to figure out a way to do a mutual benefit for both of you guys, but if you're selfish, it can mean that you gain a lot more. It's in your best interest to be more selfish so you can get ahead, so you could win this game. Finite and Infinite Games talks about everything in society, where if you base it on a win-lose basis, when you try to reach achievement rather than fulfillment, so short-term game versus an ongoing, I feel good about this. You wake up the next day, I feel good about this. And it's you going for a horizon rather than going for a line in the sand. You go, you run, you pass it, and you go, okay, well, now what? That's what this book kind of talks about. Now, by being apex and ensuring that you reach the top of that pyramid, there's also the aspect of you trying to hold your position, trying to secure it for yourself, for your children, for your spouse, for your neighbors that you like, for your friends that you really like. And as a result, in order for you to secure that top spot, you need to have some form of rules, some form of a way where you can maintain that for as long as possible. So as a result, artificial scarcity has been created, planned obsolescence has been created. When we tell people, hey, you have to pay more for water, but then we have a whole bunch of golf courses everywhere. And when you have sprinklers, thank you, coffee. When you have sprinklers pointing in the wrong direction and wasting gallons upon gallons upon gallons of water onto the street rather onto the plants, or you're using grass in areas that people don't live, people don't ever touch, people don't ever look at, but you make sure you're spending all this money and making sure that that has it rather than the people that are all over planet Earth who still in the year 2024 are dying from lack of clean water. There's this weird offset that we have, these weird rules that we abide by and say, this is fair. Food is the same thing. Housing is the same thing. All these ghost cities that we have on planet Earth where groups of people, businesses coming together, pooling money, saying, hey, let's design a Paris 2.0 somewhere in China, and yet no one lives there. But we say housing costs so much, you have to pay $1.2 million for a square foot of whatever. It's a rule that we say makes sense. It's how we mold our environments. But then that brings us to the next question. In a hypothetical world, rather than us being at the top, being apex predator or being apex, if we were a part of the entire system and we're aware of that and we plan for that, meaning if we're going to be fishing and we get, let's say, 1 billion tons of fish, what are we doing to replace that, if anything at all? Are we doing that? And if so, why is it not as effective? Is it the most effective thing ever, but just marketing, we just don't know about it? Maybe. I doubt it. But one thing's for sure is we're noticing that there is a shift. In 1920 something, it was the first time that humanity ever mourned a species loss, and it was one of the carrier pigeons, which is kind of fascinating, right? Us as a people having this level of consciousness and awareness of where we stand with everything, and where one disappears and we know we've hunted it out of extinction, and we go, let's make a note of that. We're gonna watch only 20 minutes of this video, but before we do that, I want you guys to get yourself some tea. I don't have any water, but you can grab it from right over there. We got some snacks. I'll set a 10-minute timer, do an alarm, and then come back once you're ready, okay? I'll drink my water and say, may it be coffee. Yeah. Welcome back. I just want to say this real quick. As you guys left, we were talking about planned obsolescence, which, by the way, does anyone not know what planned obsolescence is? Okay, perfect. I'm glad we're talking about this then. So planned obsolescence, consider a washer and dryer. Remember how our grandparents had ones that were like 100 years old and they, if anything happened, just whack it and then it'll start working again? As time went on, cars and how quickly they break down, or more relevantly to now, cell phones. As soon as the new iPhone comes out, miraculously, your phone starts to glitch out. It doesn't run as fast as it used to. We all hate that, but it's fueling this thing that we refer to as an economy. This train that's going in a direction and needs fuel. This fuel, okay, let's toss the old, let's get the new. Hey, come back in 1 year, right? AT&T was an amazing company to think of, hey, we're gonna set you up for a 2-year contract, but with a 1-year manufacturer's warranty on your products. But here's insurance that we have, so pay us more money so that you can get, it blows my mind. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. This is another one of, yes. Let's hear it.
Light bulbs can be made to be permanent, and they made them worse.
Yes.
So that we could continue to buy it. So they would die. The flint would die. They did that. There was a conference, a world conference about light bulbs that no one will make it better than the other, and they'll all sort of die out within the same time frame. Because light bulbs can actually just stay on, but that's the profitable one.
Fascinating, huh? It's absolutely fascinating.
That's the power.
That's the power. And again, going back to that triangle, that's how they secure their place. All right, so Daniel, so this is video number, this is part 5 of I want to say it's like a 6-part series. Daniel goes on to talk about how COVID affects us, our win-lose philosophy, how we're navigating reality, and how whether or not we think for ourselves or not. So if we don't have any form of sense making of what reality is, and if we don't have a common shared narrative of this is what defines good, this is what defines bad, it becomes a lot more difficult to navigate reality, and then destabilization happens. So this is the very pivotal point that just happened right now. How many of our politicians, whether they're Democrat or Republican or Independent or Green Party or whatever the heck that they are, can fight for their point and then say, I can argue against my own point? So when it comes to intelligence and our breakdown, are we as society able to do that? Or do we have this, well, hold on, this leader is super confident with how they're saying it. Let me memorize it. Okay, so he said this word, then this word, then this word. Hey, this is what this guy said, except I'm pretending like it's my own opinion. And I just don't challenge me and ask me a single question because I have no idea what I'm saying. But he was confident when he said it. So I'm going to say it too. Right? That's a very valid point. It is important. And that's why on the first day when Paul said something and he contradicted what everyone said, I said, generally speaking, that one outlier who's disagreeing with everyone has the best argument to support their opinion. And that's vital. Our society needs to have people that disagree with each other in a safe space. But what Daniel was referring to is that we don't have that. You're a Democrat, I'm a Republican, you have your echo chamber that says, well, we should be taxing the rich. And then you hear these echoes going back, we should be taxing the rich. Okay, so that's validation for my opinion. I'm definitely right. You hear me saying, well, hold on, as a Republican, I've earned my wealth. I suffered through this. I was sick, but I still came to work. What are you doing when you're sick, right? You're sitting down and my tax dollars is paying for you to sit around and do nothing. I have my echo chambers that validate my opinions, and I never really get to see her perspective from her side, right?